This is the Ascend Your Success podcast, and here's your host, Wyatt Reed.
What's going on, guys? My name is Wyatt Reed, and this is the Ascend Your Success podcast. And today I get to interview my friend, Andrew Lucas. I'm excited about this one because I've known Andrew a long time, and we come up in the real estate and coaching business together, and it's going to be great. So grab your pad, grab your pen, because there's going to be a lot of note taking today. Andrew, man, thank you so much for being on this. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Wyatt, man. I really appreciate you having me out here on the podcast. I know you got a great audience and a great message, so I just hope to bring value to that. So a little bit about myself. I am in Columbia, South Carolina. We do deals all over this state. We bleed a little bit into the region, but we've been doing real estate deals since 2007, so however many years ago that is. Went full-time. Well, let me just say, we did a whole lot of work while we still had full-time jobs, my wife and I. So in 2015, we had 2.5 kids, I think it was about that time. We decided we were going to flip houses, buy rentals, and, quote, retire ourselves from that day job where people were telling us what to do and where to be. So by 2018, we both were out. One of us was living off of the rental income, and the other one, this guy, had to start a job, which was wholesaling. So I'd learned about wholesaling in 2017-ish, and that's what I did. That was my day job. My wife, of course, she joined us. She's an entrepreneur too. She realized really quick that stay-at-home mom wasn't for her. So we've been in the business together since 2018, buying, selling. We close about 100 deals every year, somewhere give or take. We keep around 100 units as rental property. We've kind of gone up and down with that. We also have retail agency where we help clients buy and sell. In 2018, we also started our local meetup, which is what we were just talking about, because we wanted a place to connect and learn and build our business, and we just didn't find that when we were looking. So we started a local meetup, and we've been doing that ever since. And so I think you and I kind of got connected in the circles, been in a couple of masterminds together, a couple of trips and events, and you name it. So that's what we do now, and really we focus on a couple of places. Just the big thing is helping people realize what real estate has to offer, how big of an industry it is, and that you can find your niche. And then we help people get started with their first, second, or third deal right in their own backyard. So That's it in a nutshell, man.
I love that, man. There's a couple of things that I've already taken out of that. Like, number one, you said multiple times that the wholesaling is a job, and you've got rentals too. So, like, you're always, when you're wholesaling, when you're flipping, you're always chasing that next year, chasing that next deal. And like all too often, which you coach the one-on-one, a little bit more advanced people, right? So a lot of people say they want to get into real estate to like have freedom, have more time, have more, go on more vacations, but all too often they create themselves a prison in a high paying job. Right. And so that's why we buy the rental properties. That's why we sell or finance. That's why we do the other things too, so that we can, if we want to, not saying we don't flip or anything, but we get to be a little bit more choosy on what we want to do. Right. And we get to focus on helping other people, which is our passion in general. Right. Another thing you said was the community. I honestly believe we're built for community. A lot of people say they don't like people, blah, 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 blah. Right. But I think we're created to be in community. That's why Jesus built the church, created the church, right? A community of believers that cared for each other, encouraged each other, sharpened each other, things like that. So 100% for sure. Tell us a little bit about, like, when you first got started, you were doing one thing, and then now that you've some years have passed, you've started doing some other things. Like, how does that look in that strategy when you first started versus the strategy now?
Well, I can tell you when I first started, bought my first house, I had no idea what I was doing. This is 2007, and I mean everybody was buying houses and stuff, but nobody really knew what they were doing, which is why it collapsed. Literally like 3 days after I closed on my first house, the bottom fell out. But when I bought that one, the strategy that I thought I knew, I was so smart. When I was in college, I saw these landlords, they were just picking up these checks, and it was like $700 for a 3-bedroom house. It's like, these guys are getting rich. And now I know that they were not getting rich. I don't know how they were affording their mortgage back then, but I wanted to do that. And I thought, well, I can go get a house. I'll get my friends because I was straight out of college. So I'm like, my roommates will help pay the mortgage. In 30 years, I can have a piece. This will be for retirement. And I can do this a couple of times. And in 30 years, I'll pay off that mortgage and I'll have something to show for it. I used to be in hospitality. I used to manage hotels. There was no real, the companies I was with didn't really have retirement plans, 401ks and stuff like that. It just wasn't commonplace. It is now, but so I was like, well, and this will be my move that'll help me get, and in 30 years, I'll get something out of it. And that was my mindset. I kid you not, for 6, 7 years of what real estate was for me was just this thing. We get it, we put a tenant in it, and we'll look at it again in 30 years, even though I was managing it. So it was a lot more work than that.
Right.
But the problem is my mindset. I wasn't buying the deals. I wasn't buying any deal. I was just buying a house. There wasn't a deal because I didn't know how to run the numbers to make cash flow, to even like pay the mortgage and taxes at the end of the year. Like I was not making money. These were, they were forced savings plans at best, right? Because the tenants were paying down the mortgage. So that was the positive out of it. And then the depreciation tax benefit was there. But I didn't know how to run the numbers to make them profitable today. And I actually got this book, and I'm not in my office where I would show it to you, but it was called Hold. An agent gave it to me because we were buying everything off the MLS. I really wasn't negotiating real hard. It was just there. And she gave me this book, and it was probably the first book I ever read fully cover to cover. Back then it was Cliff Notes. We didn't have Chat GPT or Google, right? But so I read the book, and it made so much sense that you could actually have a business and have income from real estate today. Like we could have bought those houses and been getting monthly income, monthly payments, things that would help us at home or build a business. And that book right there completely changed our lives, my wife and I. That's when the idea came up and said, wait a second, we could do this, because the belief of buying the house, renovating, like I'd done all that. So that hurdle in my mind I was way over that. I just now I knew how to do it right. So that's where the idea of, my wife really wanted to be able to pick the kids up from school when they went to elementary school, right? 2:00, pick them up. So that's where the idea of 2015, 16, 17 was, we can flip houses because we've already done that. We can actually buy these rentals and replace an income, a W-2 income, if we buy them right. So that was huge mindset shift of like, now we're buying deals, we're investing in real estate for income today.
Right.
And so we did that. We got to about 35 from those 2 years. So it was 4 to 35 where we were able to step out and replace an income. And that was 2018. And then it became, we're building business now. So we're buying to build a business based on passive, rental income, and the work of wholesaling and flipping. So that was, huge change, huge shift. And today we still work on that. Like if it's not paying us today, we're not going to buy it and keep it. If we can't make money on a flip or an assignment, then we're just not going into bad deals, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. Absolutely. No, I 100% relate to that, because when I first came in, I was like, I don't want to wholesale. Like, I think it's super sketchy. I just want to buy a bunch of rental properties. And when I started to do that, I started to realize this $200 to $300 cash flow a month,
yeah,
like it really wouldn't cutting it, because if I had an HVAC that went out or a water heater that went out, like there goes my income for the whole year on that one
yep,
house. That's when I started looking into and getting into these groups and finding that, these wholesalers, most people that are doing it right are generating leads by doing marketing and doing whatever makes the most sense with those as they come in. And that's when my mind shift changed too. So I always tell everybody, you need to have an open mind about doing whatever makes the most sense and learning different strategies that you can put in your tool pouch, right? Don't just kind of don't have your blinders on as far as that goes. Now, like if we're talking about buying bars or bowling alleys or something else other than real estate, then you need to have blinders on, right? But
Yeah.
for sure, man. Well, let's talk. Let's kind of do a dive into your business. I like to see the befores and the afters. So let's talk about lead generation. How were you finding and getting deals back then versus what you do now?
So in the beginning, we were just using our network, which is what we talk to people and teach people today, is that if you open your eyes, open your mouth and your ears, you can find a deal in your backyard right now. Like, it is there. People that we have on our podcast, I ask this question every time, and everyone except for one guy who bought one sight unseen. He lived in Hawaii and he bought it sight unseen in Augusta, Georgia, but he had been stationed in Augusta, so he knew the area. And he was moving there, so he was moving to Augusta. So that was his new backyard, right? So everybody can find a deal in their backyard right now. And so we were using our network. So we had agents helping us. I mean, searching the MLS, Zillow. It's a little bit more complicated. Maybe not complicated. It's just more competitive today, right? There's more people looking for them, but they're still there. So now we are more focused on, we send out marketing. So we have our marketing company is the one that brings in the deals, and then we either keep them or flip them or assign them, right? So now we have TV commercials. We have, our main thing is postcards. We send out postcards to lists that we pull. We have an incredible website and referrals. So those are our four. And referrals is still a quarter of our business when it comes down to the actual revenue, which is insane, because we don't pay any money for those marketing for the referrals. So those are the four big lead generators for us.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I always tell my people, like I started out with free lead sources too. I was probably talking to 60 or 70 wholesalers a month, just trying to create relationship and be the squeaky wheel essentially. And that's how I got my first 4 properties, was just off of wholesalers. I didn't spend a single dime on marketing. Right. And so I enjoy listening to, especially people like you and the people who are like doing it at a much larger level. They're still getting leads for free. Like, you should never stop doing free lead sources because they're free. Right?
Right.
But I agree. We also do postcards as well. And I think the big thing is that when I see beginners jumping in that want to do that marketing, that understand, and we do sales training and stuff like that with them too, but they want to start out with that postcard marketing. We always see them, there's about a 2 to 3 week gap in between when they decide they want to do it and when the postcards hit doors. And like, we have 2 Zooms a week, so that's 6 Zooms where these guys are getting on, and I'm like, so what are you doing? What are you focused on? Like, oh, we're just waiting on postcards to go out. And I'm like, no, like, don't wait.
Yeah. Go talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. It drives me crazy, but yeah, absolutely, man. That's awesome. So you're sending out postcards, you're getting these leads in. What's your main strategy right now? And are you coaching that main strategy, or how does that look? How does all that look?
So, we do TV commercials, right? And not everybody can do that. That's expensive. You got to throw a whole bunch of money at it. And if you don't have a good runway, you can't recoup your money, right? It takes some build up. So we've been doing that for 2.5 years, maybe. I mean, 3.5 years. So we've been doing that a long time. And so that, like, if you want to jump into that, that's fine. Just be ready to throw a bunch of money and not know if it's going to come back. So we don't really advocate that for anybody, especially starting out. Our website has been going since 2018, beginning of 2018, when I knew we were leaving. Started the website about 6 months before I left my full-time job. So that website it's got years of backup, right? So it's rolling, it's good, but you just can't come out the box and start that, right? So we don't really say, and most people, you don't even need a website to get started. The only thing you have it for is just like your picture, so you can tell people, oh, go there, that's me, cheese. So starting out, or even like if you got a business going, how are you going to get impact today? There's two ways that I suggest. One would be to get that marketing going out, which is the postcards, the mail. You can even start right away with some pay-per-click. So Google ads, online ads, Facebook ads, that sort of thing. If you know that space. Other than that, go talk to people, let them know what you're doing. Your Facebook is the best spot to go ahead and tell people what you're looking for. Somebody in your family probably has a deal right now that needs help, right? But they don't know that someone in their family is able to help, right?
Yeah.
So start letting people know today, and then pick up the phone, like you said, call every wholesaler, every one of the signs, the bandit signs on the side of the road, every real estate agent. If they've got a sign, if there's an agent selling a property in a neighborhood that you want to get in, you should call that agent, because that agent is getting to know the neighborhood, right? So calling agents, calling wholesalers, and letting your whole network know
Yeah.
is number one way to get started today. Like today, you can literally find a deal in your backyard if you just open up your mouth.
Yeah, I have some old school people that come in and they're like, I don't want anybody to know what I do. And I'm like, this is, you've got to let everybody know what you do. Like that, you need to be in front of everybody, man.
Well, I can tell you. So Wyatt, when I was working my full time job, I was a hotel manager. I was the president of the association for the state. I was on the governor's council for housing, emergency housing. Right, like my Facebook was hospitality and hotels. I couldn't really do this on Facebook because it would not make sense.
Mm,
But every real estate agent knew I was looking for houses. Real estate agents don't care what you do for a living, right? 9 to 5. Every single real estate agent, and back then I didn't even know wholesaling existed for most of that time. So when I did find out, wholesalers. So every wholesaler and agent knew I was looking for houses. So you don't have to go public and put it on your Facebook. I get that. Um, as long as it's not just because you're embarrassed or shy, like get
right.
over that crap, go do it. But if it has something to do with work, I get it.
For sure. So now that we know how to get leads coming in, let's talk about the exit strategies that you guys have implemented over time. So obviously, you've already told us about your strategies, like what you used to do. Like, what are you focused on now?
So fun fact, wholesaling is illegal in South Carolina as of a couple of weeks ago. Can't do it here. You actually never could do what most people were doing.
Hmm.
The only difference is that now there's a spotlight on it. And now in this new law they put out, there's penalty, and it's written in law, not just in like the agency commission, the realtor commission, whatever. Like it's
Right.
a separate.
Oh.
This is a law,
Mm.
and lawyers can't break laws. So if a lawyer broke a law, knowingly broke a law, like they're done. They lose their license. There's no, and we're an attorney state, so you have to close with an attorney, not escrow or whatever. The attorneys just aren't going to do wholesaling anymore. So what does that mean? Well, that's good for us because it'll get some of the competition out. We'll be
Right.
fine with that. But what it means is you've got to be able to either get creative and find ways to get the owner to finance the beginning of your deal so that you can, if you have to find an end buyer, a JV partner, or actually assign it, you can still assign contracts. This is a big issue and people don't understand the law. There's so many people that didn't graduate high school or college, or certainly didn't go to law school, that are now interpreting this law and putting it online. And I'm like, time out. I hear your opinion. It's not right. So you can still assign a contract. That is still available. You just can't market it before
Mm.
you own it. And so if you can work your deals so that you can get the owner to work with you, because you're solving a problem together. This is problem solving. You're going to serve that seller, and you're just asking them to work with you a little bit. We use installment contracts, any other kind of owner financing,
Right.
maybe even subject to on a very short time frame. So there's things that you can do, or you just buy it. And so in
Yeah.
our business, we've been around for a long time. We have some great private money lenders. We're finding more private money lenders every day. We typically just close on the deal and either rent it out, flip it, or we do deal partnering here locally. So we have
Mm.
partners that will get the deal to, and we'll flip it together as a partner. So that's our acquisition strategy nowadays. And really, frankly, this is fine. The law is a little bit scary just for everyone that's coming in. And 2 years ago, we saw this law coming, and we
Mm.
changed our whole business model. We quit assigning contracts 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so we've got 2 years of runway to help people, show them exactly how to do it now, where you could still do this business without having to buy the whole house up front day one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack in that conversation, what you just said. But number one, I just want to point out, I think that is why it's so crucial to have a coach. Obviously, like
Yeah.
we're teaching these things. Like if you've got a good coach, obviously they're gonna have to know or want to know what's going on so that they don't tell you wrong, right? And we're not only that, but we're in other groups too with people who are
Mhm.
doing way more than us. And so it's just being in these groups of people who are doing bigger, better things that are going to help you when laws and stuff like this come down the pipeline, and we can see it way, way, way sooner. So just to back up a little bit, obviously wholesaling, for those that don't know, is where you market. Andrew sends out a postcard, seller calls back in, you get it under contract for 100,000. You turn around and assign your rights to that contract to another investor after
Mhm.
marketing it on Facebook or something else to a buyer's list, and then you assign those rights for, let's say, $110,000. You step out and make that 10,000, and then they close on it and they do whatever,
Yeah.
right? In a nutshell, way more that goes on in it, but in a nutshell. So that really can that law changing can really screw up the strategies. For me, when I think about it, I just think, okay, well, we can just double close it, right? Exactly what you were saying. Is that affected by
Mm.
the law? Can you still double close?
No, no. So doubleclosing.com, which I'm not affiliated with them, but they're one of the big ones that you can use for double close money. And I was at my attorney's office when they were talking to him on the phone. They're like, "Hey, we're double closing, but we have to have our money back in 24 hours." And he's like, "Well, that doesn't. How did this? How did the quote wholesaler, the person that got the contract, how did they find an end buyer to close already if they didn't tell them about the property?"
Mm.
And so double closing is not going to work either. You can kind of work through that with partnerships, JV agreements, past deals. So with our deal partners, we can make it happen because we have partnership agreements,
Mm.
right? So there's things you can do there. But if you just conceptually think about this, I have a contract to buy this house. I need someone else to buy this contract from me for a profit. Well, how am I going to get them to buy this contract if they don't know what's in it? I
Hmm.
have to tell them about the property. And at that point, that's when it becomes illegal.
Wow.
So that's how they got us. So that it's pretty slick, it's pretty smooth, and it's challenging for people, which is why now things like the installment method, you can actually take over and put some money down day one, and then you've made your first installment and you can market it.
Oh,
Owner financing, option to buy. There's these, basically everything that falls under that creative financing umbrella is where
yeah.
we're going and working and showing our community how to do this business today without buying the whole property up front. If you can get the financing and the funds and you can just buy it, way easier. You
Yeah.
just buy it, you factor in the cost, the holding cost, and then you sell it.
Yeah. 100%. That's
Yeah.
the thing about it is like there are laws all over the place, just the popping up, coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
Like it's going to continue to grow and make things even harder and harder and harder. I mean, you do mailers, I do mailers. I
Mhm.
partner with Jacob Ninen, who's in Georgia, and they just came out with a new law in
Yeah.
Georgia that you have to put this this is actually marketing. It's not a legit, whatever the terminology is, but it's going to affect the amount of people that are calling in from postcards. It's like a big, hey, this is somebody trying to buy your house. Don't worry about it. It's not legit, right? So There are laws like that are coming down the pipeline in every state, and it's going to continue to get harder. And that's why you need to be in rooms with other people that are doing the same things, that are in other groups and other groups and other groups. So it's very, very, very important, right? So, and also, just like what you said, man, the seller financing, the creative financing aspect of real estate, this is essentially the best time to get into the creative side of it. Like, the interest rates are up super high, doing the Burr method or whatever you're doing. Like, it really honestly doesn't make sense to rent properties right now using that method, for a lot of people, right? That it's not cash flowing like it used to, with the interest rates being so high. And so, like, that's when we hit the brakes hard, because we were doing a bunch of flips and wholesales, and we were buying up rentals, and we just hit the brakes hard, and we're like, how do we shift with this interest rate continuing to climb and climb and climb? And that's when we started doing the seller financing. Now with the seller financing, you have adjustable rates, you have, big capital up front from the down payments, you got cash flow that's more than normal, because they're buying the property, right? Not just renting. So now's the time. If you don't have creative financing in your tool pouch, you need to get with somebody that can teach you that, for sure. We're coming up close to time. Man, tell us, if there's one thing that you could do, knowing what you know now, back when you first started, what would that be?
Man, I don't have regrets. I know that God gave me all the obstacles and challenges so that I could get here, and super blessed to be here. I do look back, and this is probably every investor's downfall, is I look back at all the things I sold, all the things I wholesaled that I could have kept. Knowing how to finance things now, how I can burr them a little better, how I can find better tenants, do some more seller financing where we sell properties on seller financing. We're just collecting mortgage payments, essentially. If that's the kind of stuff that I wish I knew way back in the beginning, because if I knew that in 2007, then
we wouldn't even know Andrew Lucas today. He wouldn't be here.
The 9 years of nothingness would have been filled with what the last 6 years have been, which would be phenomenal. I feel like I would have been able to do so much more, and it would have been okay. So I guess the point of that question is, hey guys, what have we learned over the last since 2007? How many years it's been? What have we learned in real estate since then? And I think the number one thing is understand your options to buy and hold real estate for the long term, because real estate over the long period is going to be your greatest wealth generator. You got to keep your business going. You got to pay the bills, but I know we could have kept a lot more.
Yeah, that's the answer most of the time, is I wish I would have started sooner, and I wish I would have kept more.
Yeah.
Well, good deal, man. Well, hey, what does it look like to work with you? How do I work with you? How do I find you? Like, tell us a little bit about your coaching, man.
Yeah, man. So anybody, we do live events in South Carolina once a week. So anybody in South Carolina, we're in Columbia, drive in, or even Georgia, Charlotte. We got partners from Augusta and from Charlotte. So people come from around the state. So come check out our live events. You can go to our website, dealfindersclub.com. We have a lot of resources there, a lot of education, a lot of videos. You can definitely check us out there. So we have a lot of free education. Wyatt, I know you do too. YouTube University. There's so much out there that I usually point people to our free videos that teach things. But if you're like me, when I first started, I saw the education, I saw that, but I needed help. I needed guidance. I needed someone to take me through and tell me, do this, do that, do this. Then you may want to think about a coach, just to speed up your implementation, right? So the education's out there, but if you want implementation, reach out. You can go through our website, dealfindersclub.com. Be glad to talk to you about it and see if it's a fit.
Dude, heck yeah, I love it, man. I started, like, for 3 or 4 months. I tried to do it on my own, listen to the podcast, read the books, stuff like that, and looked at properties that I knew nothing about on the MLS, didn't know how to run numbers, was trying to use bigger pockets, but didn't really work out. And then I hired my first coach, and within like 3 or 4 months, I had properties, right? So it's very, very crucial. I believe 100%. And we're not telling you guys anything that we don't do ourselves. We both have coaches, and our coaches have coaches. It's so important to have coaches, right? So, dude, thank you so much for being a part of this. And man, if there's anything I can ever do for you, just let me know.
No, you got it. I appreciate it. Thanks for the time.
Yes, sir. All right. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this podcast, listening to this podcast. Do me a favor, if you like it, share it, comment on it, rate it, do whatever you can on whatever platform you're listening through. And if you're interested in learning how we do what we do or getting into real estate, go to ascendyoursuccess.com and fill out an application, and let's book a call together. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation and see if you're a good fit for us, if we're a good fit for you, and let's just talk about it. Have a great rest of the day.